We're looking at $1.365 trillion that banks are putting away to forego a loss because they're uncertain of what's going on. Now, don't want to be speculative, don't want to be doom and gloom here, but this is very unprecedented. And the thing that I find very interesting is that we've had 34 straight trading days with over $1 trillion in this program.
This is BetterWealth with Caleb Guilliams. Banks today have over $1.3 trillion, pretty much sitting at 0%. In this video, we're going to be talking about why that might be the case. We're going to be showing you some crazy graphs. We're going to talk even about why the Fed has upped their limits and why this might affect you, might be an indicator for the next recession. And so without further ado, why don't you explain what's going on here? And this was eye-opening to me, Dan, when you shared this with me.
Yeah, so the Federal Reserve has a program called the Overnight Reverse Repurchase Agreement Program, and we're just going to call it the Reverse Repo Program to make it easy. But the premise of this program is to basically create a money market account for banks, and this is really when banks are uncertain about any sort of investment. Like they are uncertain of where to put their money. Yeah. So they put it in a safe place. Well, where's the safe place? The Federal Reserve that can do pretty much anything they want monetarily. And so they have this program where banks can shove liquid cash into basically, like I said, a money market that is currently earning 5 basis points, which is 0.05% on an annual basis. So that means that if you had $100 in that account for an entire year, you would
get a nickel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's literally nothing.
Yeah.
Literally nothing. Like the whole premise is to not lose money. That is the purpose of this program. And what's crazy is that in the graph that we'll be able to show you, banks are putting in an unprecedented amount of money into that program right now. You can also look back to March of 2020 when the market dropped. They put in, I think it was like $250 billion, which again, a lot of money. And this is the thing, we've become numb to billions and trillions in today's environment. But right now we're talking about $1.365 trillion. This is today, September 28th. This is an all-time high. It is a new record. And this is the graph that we're talking about. Is on the left-hand side here, this is what we were talking about March of 2020. The high was $284 billion. This is directly,
And by the way, around that time, we had a crash.
Yeah, so I mean, we can look right here, March 2020. This is where the crash was. And then, we're printing money. Things are good. Market's crushing. Why in the world would you have your money at 0.0 nothing? Yeah. And literally, you're looking at 0.010, almost like nothing in here. Then suddenly, in March and really April of 2021, we have this huge uptick, and you can see in some of these big ones here. It's not quite the correction that was in 2020, but there is a correction in the market here. Right. And you're going from 520 billion to $755 billion. And so if we round, it's $250 billion almost overnight that's being injected into this program. And now, like I said, we're looking at $1.365 trillion that banks are putting away to forego a loss because they're uncertain of what's going on. Now, don't want to be speculative, don't want to be doom and gloom here, but this is very unprecedented. And the thing that I find very interesting is that we've had 34 straight trading days with over $1 trillion in this program. Yeah, and let's zoom out. How many how long has this program been effective? So the max goes out I think to 2003. Okay, so for those of you listening, I'm looking at a chart and since 2003, there's a little blip in 2008 where banks put some of their money. I'm sure, they were a little bit gun shy, but then from 2009 to 2013, it doesn't seem like they took advantage of the program. Starting in 2014, you could see them stuffing some money, but then after 2018, the line practically goes non-existent, and then you can see that little blip in 2020. I'm sure that was the COVID crash. Yep. And then you're seeing an unprecedented. Banks are stuffing money like they've never stuffed money before at practically zero. So a couple takeaways here. And again, we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Again, not a lot of people are talking about this overnight reserve repurchase agreements, but it's why are banks doing this?
what is the reason? Do they know stuff that we don't? Maybe they're just seeing trends. We should probably do a video on the people that are, not paying back their loans. Like they might be seeing trends. They might just be saying, hey, right now the market's just, there's nothing that's that's worth risking our money right now. That could be how you're reading it. What are some other things that when you look at this that come to your mind?
Well, I think everything's unprecedented right now. Like the market's at an all-time high, real estate's going crazy, crypto's going crazy. So I think there is this general sense of like, okay, we've had the greatest bull market of all time. We're printing money at an unprecedented rate, and then suddenly this happens. Well, now in addition to this, the Fed presidents recently said, "Hey, for ethical reasons, we're going to sell all of our stock."
Interesting.
So you're going to do that. Oh, and by the way, they are actively changing this program. As of September 23rd, the cap on this program was $80 billion per counterparty. So what a counterparty means is basically a conglomerate of banks could, like one bank could own a couple banks. So a counterparty is the one that is the top tier. As a counterparty, put up to $80 billion in this program. And there were a lot of banks that were getting very close to that threshold.
Right.
And so what did the Fed do? They're like, oh, well, let's just double it. And put it to $160 billion. And this was effective September 23rd. The purpose of this program, directly from the Fed, says to maintain orderly financial conditions. To maintain orderly financial conditions. And again, from what we're seeing, maybe we're the uneducated ones, but it's like these banks are uncertain about any other investment.
Right.
And so their orderly condition is to put it in a place that's going to earn nothing so that it doesn't lose money.
Right.
And the funny thing I find in all of this is when they changed this to the $160 billion, they gave a really vague reason. They said the increase helps ensure that the program continues to support effective policy implementation. So again, the thing that I find very interesting about this is if you also look at inflation,
right,
that is also going pretty crazy.
Right.
And there's all kinds of different calculations you can do, who's right, who's wrong, who's indifferent.
Right.
I just look at this alone with everything else that's going on. Right. And I just start asking questions like, okay,
Right. In a world where inflation's like way higher than 3%, why are banks opting in for 0.05%? Here's maybe my final thought. Again, we're very careful not to predict crashes, even though that's what helps grow your YouTube channel. And so we would appreciate if you commented your thoughts below, like this video, and just shared this with some people that would find this video interesting. But what I find is if banks are doing this, and these are institutions that usually are, let's just say, make a ton of money and never lose. If banks are doing this right now, how does that translate to us? Like, I just want to encourage you in this time, if there's uncertainty that you feel, don't feel like you have to have all your money out invested. Like, it's okay to have some of your money sitting on the sidelines. It doesn't mean it's gonna, like, if you look at the graph, the banks aren't like putting their money in this for their entire life because they wouldn't make any money. But there are times in history, like I did a video on Warren Buffett. There's times in history where people put money aside, and they do that for a reason, whether it's to hedge against a loss, whether it's to take advantage of an opportunity when there's a lot of blood on the street, as Warren Buffett would say. So all in all, something to think about. And again, please share this with someone that you find this video interesting, because not a lot of people are talking about it. And again, Dan, when you showed this to me, I'm like, okay, this is a trend that you can't unsee.
And the last thing I'll say is I can't get over the dollar amount. Like, $1.365 trillion. That is a ton of money. And again, we've kind of gotten numb to that because of all this money that's been printed. That is so much money.
Yeah, that's true.
And right now, if we were like, hey, maybe being all in the stock market's not the best play, people would be like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And again, it's not financial advice, but it may be wise to take a play out of the bank's playbook.
I will say this: we're not like saying that the market's going to crash, but if it does, we're going to make sure to say we had this video out while the market was doing its all-time high thing. So we'll just make sure to we're definitely going to flex it if and when it does crash, and we might be the people that have predicted the next market crash. So thank you guys for watching our videos. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate hearing your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for listening to the BetterWealth podcast. It would mean the world to me if you could hit subscribe, leave a review, and share this with the people that you know and love.